What is up, guys? So what we're going to be talking about today is we are going to be talking about game timers. So the timing in the game is going to dictate certain things that happen on the map. All of these timings that we go through are going to be useful for every role, every rank, and they will immediately make you better at the game if you know what these timers mean and you know how to use them in your gameplay. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is kind of the first minute of the game. It's important because it takes about 25 seconds to get across the map to whichever buff you're going to leash, or if you're the jungler starting. Now, what you'll see at high elo a lot of times is teams will invade before that 1 minute, and they will try to get a ward down right here. Now, the reason they try and get a ward down here or here is because they're trying to see where the enemy jungler is starting. This is super, super important information because this is going to impact the rest of the game and several of the timestamps going forward. If you can tell when the enemy gets to these raptors, or if they're starting their raptors, they'll show up there within the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and it is crucial for the rest of the game. The next timer that kind of happens in the first 3 minutes is going to be the buffs, obviously starting at a minute 30, but we're going to get into the primary point of this section, which is minute 230 to 330. Now you might be asking, well, we're talking about warding early so we know where the jungler starts, and we're talking about getting these buffs, cleared and everything, and the buffs spawning at 130. That's super basic, Strike. So why am I, like, why do I care about 230 to 330? What's the point, right? How is that any different than any other time in the game when I should be paying attention to, everything that's going on the map? That's a great question. So what you're going to see here is I'm going to go through a standard jungle clear, and it's going to be really interesting once we get further into this, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So, right now, almost done with my Krugs, right? Fiddlesticks has a pretty decent clear, pretty popular jungler, so to speak, right? So, I'm not the best at clearing jungle. I'm not what you would consider like a challenger level jungler player, right? But I can do a decent clear. I can get, from one camp to the next relatively quick and kind of keep it moving. So what's really important and what you're going to see here is right as I'm moving right now and we look up into that top right section, what can we see? Well, what we can see is it is 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and I am now transitioning across to the other side of the map. So if you know that the jungler started on their top side blue or red, you know that now they're going to be in the bot side. If I started on my bot side red and I'm transitioning, well, now you know that I am going to be in my top side. This is important if you're the top laner or the mid laner because it can help you distinguish, hey, around 230, I should be warding one of these side bushes. I should be paying attention to if I can get ganked from either side. And if you know which side the jungler started on, it's going to help you avoid getting ganked there and help you avoid dying. Which overall, obviously, avoiding dying, pretty important, pretty good overall in the game of League of Legends. Definitely something we want to do is not die to ganks, especially as a top laner or a mid laner who's playing in a solo lane. Now, as you can see here, we're coming up on the 330 minute, and the important thing about the 330 minute mark is that that is when Scuttle spawns. So what that means is getting priority before 330 can be very big because then you can help your jungler with this Scuttle fight. It is also going to be when junglers hit level 4 when they're full clearing, and it is going to be, you're probably going to see a gank happen within 2 minutes and 30 seconds to the 330 mark because they might want to help a lane so that they get priority. So that is the first timer that is pretty important for us to go over. Now, the next timer that we're going to go over is going to be the 420 timer. And it seems like, well, 420, that's kind of like a weird timer. What's the important thing about 420? So, the important thing about the 420 timer is standard jungle clears, depending on how fast a jungler is going, 420 is when their camps are going to start spawning back, right? You can see that my red buff is going to be spawning in 30 seconds, but before my red buff spawns, my Krugs and my Raptors are going to come up because I cleared them first, right? But my entire bot side is respawning around 420. So normally, if you haven't seen the jungler in the first 3 minutes and 30 seconds of the game, and you know which side they started on, it is safe to assume that now that jungler has returned to their starting quadrant, and you know if you're playing bot lane, that now is the time to watch out because the jungler is back in their bot side jungle, right? Now, moving on past that, the next thing to talk about is going to be 5 minutes. Now, when we're talking about 5 minutes, the question is, well, why is 5 minutes so important? 5 minutes is when the fortification buff falls off the towers. Now, if you don't know what the fortification buff is, we're going to go back to the beginning of the game real quick, and I will show you exactly what it is. The reason the fortification buff is so important is because when we look at a tower pre 5 minutes, what you're going to see is you're going to see this buff right here. And this is fortification. So before 5 minutes, towers take a reduced 75% damage. This means even if you have demolish, it's 75% reduced damage. So what does that really mean? The only tower that doesn't have the fortification debuff, well, as strong as I believe, is going to be the bot tower. But let me go down here and just double check. Nope, it also has fortification. So pretty much pre 5 minutes, if you crash a big wave, it is more important for you to back and get a tempo advantage than it is to actually attack the towers, because you're not going to do a lot of damage to the towers anyways. Seems kind of strange that that's the case, but that is the case in the game, right? The other thing that happens at minute 5 that's really important is overall it's a really good time to reset, because if you reset at 5 minutes, there's a cannon wave that's actually coming out. So if you're in a good position to reset and spend all of your gold, you can escort out this cannon wave, use your item advantage to push in, and then you can really get a lot of gold off of tower plates at this point in the game, specifically because of the fact that the tower plates are now weaker. The tower is not taking reduced damage. Towers take increased damage when a cannon minion is present, and then you can siege down for a lot of plates, and you've spent your gold for your item advantage. So the 5 minute window is a really good window to play around. Now the next window we're going to talk about is going to be the 8 minute window, which sounds like a very abstract concept. Why do we care about 8 minutes into the game? What's so important about 8 minutes? So we'll just go forward to around maybe 8:15, right? Might be a good timer, right? So when I go to 8 minutes, 8:30, there's an important thing that's happening across the entire map at this point when you look at all of the champions. Now, some people may not exactly be there, but around 8 minutes, if a game has been played relatively standard, you're going to see that everybody is level 6, 7, or 8. The supports are a little behind in this instance because they've been roaming this game, but everybody should be level 6 besides the supports, most likely at 8 minutes. So if we go back to 8 minutes and we check here, and maybe we can go back even a little bit more so we can check out this Vlad. So, yep, we can see right around 8 minutes, everybody is hitting their level 6 spikes. Just turned level 6, right? Let's check out maybe this Smolder, just turned level 6. Let's check out this Vladimir, almost level 8. Let's check out this Diana, just turned level 6. And this isn't a Masters game, right? So there's an expectation that if people aren't keeping up with their tempo and their XP as much in the lower elo, around 8 minutes, 8:30 is when you're going to see a lot of people hit their level 6 spike, and the game is going to transition drastically now that all of those ults are available. Now the next thing to talk about is going to be minute 14. So why do we care about minute 14 so much? Well, number one, minute 14 is usually by that point the bot tower has fallen for either one team or the other. Sometimes not, but even if it hasn't fallen, as long as it's close to falling somewhere between 14 and 15 minutes, you're going to want to rotate your mid lane to your bot side and probably your bot side mid. Now this happens for two reasons. Number one, at 14 minutes, the plates fall off, and towers are easier to be taken. The most important tower in League of Legends is the mid lane tower. So because we know that this is the most important tower in the game, we want to use two people to siege it. It also then gives the support access to the river, and the support can start warding, and funnily enough, the other thing that happens right at 14, 15 minutes is we're going to see the Rift Herald pop out onto the map, right? So it gives you the ability to rotate over, and you have a 4-3 numbers advantage if the other team didn't rotate their support and bot laner mid. So you have numbers advantage on the spawning rift. You have vision control, as you can see here if we were to look at the blue team. Because Karma got here so early, look at this control around the objective and the pressure that they're going to be able to apply mid. And now what you're seeing in these 14-15 minute marks is we're seeing Vladimir go bot and we're seeing Yon go bot. Now these rotations are obviously a lot cleaner because this is a Masters game, so people know this kind of inherently. But If you can convince your mid laners to swap with you and you're playing bot lane, this is very important. Obvious ones, which is 20 minutes. At 20 minutes, Baron spawns, right? And Baron is one of the most important buffs in the game for being able to end the game. It is one of the most important buffs in the game to siege. It gives you a giant gold advantage. It gives you incredible map pressure and statistically has the highest win rate out of the neutral objectives outside of Elder Soul. So food for thought to really pay attention to that Baron timer because Baron is no joke in terms of winning games. So that pretty much covers off on all of the different timers that you need to know in League of Legends. This is a pretty quick video. All of these, if you master them, are going to help you improve almost immediately to not die as much to ganks, tracking enemy junglers, and knowing when and where you should be certain places in the game on the map at certain times. So hopefully this was helpful to you. If you liked the video, please like, comment, subscribe. It helps out the channel a lot. And I will see you guys in the next one.